Well, it's unbelievable. That's what Senator Joe Manchin said about Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell both voting for the same thing, the infrastructure bill. So why is Schumer in such a rush to get the deal done? And why is McConnell telling him to slow down? CBN's White House correspondent Eric Phillips has more. Here's Eric.
Well, Pat, by all accounts, it was a long, painstaking process for bipartisan legislators to get to this 2,700-page document that is now on the Senate floor. Now the next process has begun, that of the entire body scrutinizing the bill and agreeing on what amendments need to be made.
The bipartisan infrastructure bill is designed to bring our infrastructure up to date for a new century, and that is a significant achievement.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer introduced the bill to the floor late Sunday night, a move receiving rare praise from members of both parties.
We will continue to once again demonstrate to our country and to the world that we can indeed do our jobs, that we can legislate, that we can work together.
No new taxes, core infrastructure only, and it's great for the American people.
The bill's price tag, $1.1 trillion, with $550 billion in new spending, $110 billion earmarked for roads and bridges, $39 billion for public transportation, and $65 billion to expand broadband internet. When it comes to the Senate body backing the bill, there's a sense of optimism.
And you think it will pass?
I do. Oh, absolutely. I do. And you see Chuck Schumer and you see Mitch McConnell both voting for the same thing. It's unbelievable.
I believe the Senate can quickly process relevant amendments and pass this bill in a matter of days.
At the same time, some members of the GOP are insisting that this not be rushed.
It's going to pass. The bill will pass. It's not even a question at this point. Yes, there's going to be an amendment process, and what day will they wrap up? All of that, yada, yada, yada. Bottom line is it will pass because you don't get this far in Washington in Congress, and Chuck Schumer would never put the bill on the floor if he didn't have the votes.
Our full consideration of this bill must not be choked off by any artificial timetable that our Democratic colleagues may have penciled out for political purposes. While I salute the hard work of my colleagues who produced the base text that's now before us, their conversations can't be the Senate's last word.
One surprise that could affect the vote, Pat. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has tested positive for COVID despite being vaccinated. And while he describes his symptoms as mild, he will be quarantined for the next 10 days.
Eric, the thing that people are worried about is that this particular bill, which seems so benign and so popular, is actually like a Trojan horse to bringing that much larger bill that they're trying to put in with the Christmas tree for everybody, including a lot of tax increases. Tell us about what you know about that one.
Well, Pat, what you've got is two pieces of legislation that are separate but are certainly linked. They're working together. You've got the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which we just talked about, the $1.1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill, which deals with roads, bridges, transportation, broadband, those types of things. But then you've also got what's working its way through the Senate right now, the $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation bill. That is something that Democrats have put together, and it's something that Democrats can pass on their own without the help of Republicans. Now, that has not happened yet. Here's the rub, though. Democrats in the House are saying in order for them to vote for this infrastructure bill, they want to see that $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill introduced on the House floor as well. They want to see both of them kind of coming together as a package deal. So even if and when the infrastructure bill does pass the Senate, as you heard great optimism being articulated in terms of the fact that it will, even if and when that happens, Nancy Pelosi, House Majority Leader Nancy Pelosi, has said she will not introduce that infrastructure bill on the House floor until the reconciliation bill is ready to be introduced as well, so that they can be companion legislations being introduced at the same time, and she can get the buy-in from progressives for the infrastructure bill on the House. So the two bills are very much linked together, although they're separate pieces of legislation. This is how the Biden administration has kind of had the architecture for this whole thing to work together, Pat.
Well, the one is a monstrosity that will destroy America. The other is a good thing. It's amazing. But let me ask you, what impact will it have on the administration if these progressives succeed in blocking this?
Well, if the infrastructure bill does not pass, it would be perceived as a failure. I would say a physical failure and a philosophical failure. Remember, the Biden administration, one of the hallmarks of it is bipartisan cooperation. It's something the president has talked about during his time in office. It's something he talked about on the campaign trail. It's something that's been a hallmark of his career. You hear him often referring to reaching across the aisle, being able to communicate well with his Republican friends. You know, a handshake should seal the deal. All those types of things that talk about bipartisan cooperation. If the infrastructure bill were to fail, despite the fact that it's got major buy-in, as you just heard, from both sides of the aisle, then that would be a complete failure, or certainly a massive failure for the Biden administration philosophically when they've talked so much about bipartisan cooperation. But then it would be a physical failure because we've got cooperation and agreement on the fact that our infrastructure in terms of bridges, roads, and such need this upgrade. And if that bill failed, then those upgrades would have to wait.
Eric, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you, I think this thing is a Trojan horse, and I think that when they get to that reconciliation, they try to slip in $3.5 trillion of additional spending, and then they're going to couple that with tax increases. It will destroy the economy. And those that have got some sense ought to say, look, this sounds lovely, but we're not going to let it go